For the longest time, the list of throw picks in competitive play has been topped by largely niche picks like Torbjorn and Symmetra, and there are other heroes who can be rather limited in their utility, such as Pharah and Junkrat. If nothing else, the competitive season 10 and 11 taught us that our perception of what makes a throw pick can change more drastically than previously anticipated. I mean, if I told you 6 months ago that people get mad over Genji and soldier picks, would you have believed me? As much as even a hero like Genji has his own level of bullshit, like a very forgiving amount of mobility, as well as a "you can't kill me now" button, whose effectiveness is debatable these days, his level of effort invested to reward receipt ratio seemed largely very fair. And same goes for Tracer. Those heroes have been considered meta for a very long time because they hinge on the player behind the screen more than the current balance of the game. Your skill and, more importantly, your improvement were immediately rewarded because the way those heroes were designed, your effectiveness as a player would scale proportionally to your skill and improvement. The better the player behind the screen, the more dangerous Tracer was, as opposed to a hero like Junkrat, for example. With a very low skill floor, most players would be able to make him work under given circumstances. Like if you play in a choke point heavy map, spamming in the general direction of the enemy team is not exactly difficult. If you look at the game as it is right now, it feels like that balance I talked about earlier was kinda thrown upside down. As a Tracer player, you no longer get the same value relative to your skill because of how much more difficult it is to make her work given the lower effort nature of her counters. Another hero that was largely considered universally viable was Soldier 76, another hero that in this meta is often considered a throw pick. But before I lament the downfall of skill in Overwatch, as if that was the first time I've done that, I would like to stop myself right here. Yes, it is true that there are players out there who consider heroes like Genji, Tracer, and Soldier 76 to be throw picks now in Season 11. The landscape of the game has changed in a way that no longer favors these heroes. And for the players who spend countless hours trying to master their craft, it is frustrating to no longer be considered a meta pick. I mean, again, who would have thought that Soldier and Tracer can fall out of the meta at any point in time? Now, I do want to point out that nothing I'm saying today will make you feel any less frustrated about the fact that your main hero of choice is currently considered a throw pick. But what I want to do is try and help you see the bigger picture from a bit more of an objective standpoint. Because you see, what we are experiencing right now, in my opinion, was inevitable. We would eventually reach a point where the introduction of a certain hero or a balance patch of multiple heroes creates an environment in which our favorite characters are no longer considered viable. But why is that? Because of design direction, marketing, and sheer probability. Pretty much all of us who have been exposed to Blizzard's marketing for Overwatch should be aware of what kind of game we signed up for. Blizzard is known for a high level of polish and accessibility. They have a card game for you if you think that Magic the Gathering is too complicated. They have a MOBA for you if you think that Dota 2 takes too long to learn, and now they have a hero shooter for everyone who's usually bad at clicking heads. Again, it is a hero shooter and not a classic FPS, and that for good reason, because most first-person shooters, in essence, are hardcore games. They are hardcore in the sense that it requires a very specific skill set for you to be able to play them at all. And of course, I'm talking about aiming. If you just took a second to think about how the act of aiming is praised in our community as such a highly valued, albeit not necessary skill set, then you should already realize what kind of game you are playing. You're playing a shooter in which aiming is considered a rare skill set. If you then follow a logical train of thought, you will eventually realize that more heroes will eventually be introduced to follow this direction in game design. Accessibility is very important to the developers, and they have shown time and time again that skill requirements won't stop them from making characters that they believe are fun. So why does it surprise us so much that we are suddenly in a situation where heroes who were previously considered meta no longer see as much play? In fact, we are so upset about this that rather than adapting to the new environment, we call the game outright broken. Listen, I do not disagree with the notion that Brigitte is an oppressive and unfun character to play against, but the idea of getting outclassed by somebody based on the notion of counterplay rather than skill is nothing new for Overwatch, is it? Reaper destroys Reinhardt, Pharah destroys Reaper, D.Va destroys Pharah, and Zarya destroys D.Va. Not a single one of these matchups takes place on even footing. One of the two will always have the upper hand against the other, and one of them will always have to display less skill to take the other out. It was only a matter of time that even heroes who scaled very well with their own improvement movement and skill would fall victim to this very basic design principle. Again, I'm not saying that this isn't frustrating or unfun, especially if you are on the receiving end. All I'm saying is that this is the game we all signed up for. We knew very well that at its core, Overwatch was built to be accessible and fun and not hyper-competitive. And being competitive in Overwatch is very different to many other games. Sure, you can grind your brains out trying to become an aim god, but you can still get absolutely rolled by a truckload of characters who all take less skill and dedication to pull off said rolling. Overwatch is more of a knowledge-driven game than it is a mechanically driven game. And to be very frank here, you can get all the way up to Grandmaster on the back of not being an idiot, rather than trying to become the most mechanically driven player in our known universe. And the best players out there consider both of these things. They have the brains and the brawls. They don't insist on playing a hero that presumably takes more skill when they know that making a smart decision to play a more situationally appropriate character is objectively the easier way to win the game. So, I'm sorry to say that, but for all you Tracer, Genji, and Soldier mains out there who flip tables on a daily because they can't make their mains work anymore, maybe it's time to learn Pharah, Junkrat, and Hanzo if you want to win more games. It doesn't necessarily mean that the game is fundamentally broken. To quote Frito here for a second, everyone defaults to what is easy, not what is strong. And that is a big difference. What makes you a better player is not insisting to play what you consider to be skillful heroes. What makes a good player is understanding what has to be done to win in the easiest way possible, at least in solo queue. Because what you will see in organized play is that a lot of the things that people say don't work anymore still work very well, and that includes dive compositions. I know that everyone loves saying things like, once this and that is nerfed, all the boosted so-and-so mains will drop back down to plat and the hit scan mains will rise to the top once again. But honestly, who's the idiot here? The guy who plays the game optimally, or the one crying that the game is broken while playing something that very clearly is not working for them? You either get good enough to play around your counters, or you'll learn what is the most optimal way of winning. Or alternatively, just blame the video game for your own incompetence if you want, I guess. All I tried to say with this video is that Overwatch never tried to evolve around the idea of rewarding the most mechanically skillful players. And if you ever thought that Overwatch should be a game like that, then you must have gracefully ignored everything Blizzard ever showed in their promotional material. What is or isn't a throw pick does very much hinge on the current balance patch and the environment we play in. Something that gets you yelled at for playing it in solo queue can work perfectly fine when deciding to play it in a more organized environment like amateur leagues and six stacks. Solo queue is not about what is the strongest composition, it's about finding the easiest way to win the game. And if you don't like participating in that kind of a game mode, then it might just not be for you. Sure, in other games the easiest way to win could be by becoming a living aimbot, but Overwatch is just not that kind of a game. And the sooner you accept that, the more easily you'll be able to become a smarter player. To wrap up the video, I want to take a minute to thank all the ladies and gentlemen who directly support my content with a sponsorship, or soon to be known a channel membership. Special thanks go out to Rome, Brandon, Misnomer Again, The Dandy, Speed Lion, Fata Travesty, Nado, Markalef, Shoepack, and Matt Cotton, Shivo, Crazemaster, Fox Thortle, and of course, Magical Devil Girl Reborn plus Alpha the sequel. If you also want to support my channel with a $5 monthly subscription, you can head on over to YouTube Gaming, find my channel, and click the sponsorship button that is soon only going to say join, according to an email I got from YouTube. What are you guys even doing over there? Alternatively, you can just click the link in the description below that should work on all devices. Sponsorships are a thing that have been around for a while now, at least for gaming YouTubers, and with the recent drama surrounding it, I realized how I haven't really gone out of my way to thank those of you who throw money at me every month. So once again, thank you everybody so much for your support. Whether you actively discuss the topics I choose in the comment section, share my videos with your friends, or just quietly tune in every time a new upload comes around. I could not do this without the help of each and every one of you guys, so thank you for allowing me to do this. And with that out of the way, thank you everybody so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.